Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our NXT review. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with this NXT, the go-home show before NXT TakeOver Phoenix this Saturday. And yeah, we had some quality video packages as to be expected to hype up some of the matches on TakeOver. I like to, and I've noticed in NXT, and I've been meaning to comment on this for a while, I like that the matches that get the video packages are more often than not the feuds that aren't allocated like that TV time on the go-home show. So like everything is taken care of. It's not like a Raw where I think you could see, just to throw a feud out there, like a Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, where that's going to get both TV time and a video package played probably multiple times. You know what I mean? So I like that they very much have their priorities straight in that regard. Some fun matches, including the debut of the Sky Pirates, and a very compelling closing segment that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, Ashton, what do you think about this NXT?
Yeah, the only match that's going to happen on TakeOver that did get both on-air time as well as a video package was the world title match. It was Ciampa Black. They got a video package, and they both made an appearance in the final segment. So that ending up being the only match to get both makes a lot of sense. I would say the only downside, though, is that we did get one match that didn't get any hype whatsoever on this show, that being Undisputed Era versus War Raiders. There was nothing for that on this show. It was on last show.
I'm almost curious, dude, like about that, if they're gonna do anything like on the YouTube channel, or if that's another like thing where maybe they've done stuff on social media, because I am hoping that gets a little bit more hype, but we'll see. But yeah, man, let's get right into this review. Let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I thoroughly enjoyed live reacting to this with you. If anybody wants to listen to our live reactions rather than our more formal review, that is also on the channel. So you can check that out. We just got through with that a few moments ago. But yeah, I've got no complaints, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this. What about you?
And I'll be very upfront. The only reason that Johnny Gargano really seeming like he has sort of sided again with Ciampa at the end of this show isn't a Heat of the Night for me is because of the fact that Candice might be able to be the voice of reason and talk him into being like himself.
Yeah, and I know you and I have like very differing opinions on that whole thing. Maybe that's something we'll discuss in this review.
Yeah, because I'm hoping that this is like an actual nuanced story and you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if we're going to discuss that here, if we're going to save that discussion for NXT TakeOver Phoenix preview predictions, which again is tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that more tomorrow.
Yeah. But in the meantime,
and by the way, for those of you that aren't following me on Twitter and haven't seen the schedule, it will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, you guys are going to want to be there. We've got a lot of content coming the next 4 days, but I'm most hyped, if I'm being honest, about the preview and predictions. I love those. Yeah. I think it's going to be quality discussions for both TakeOver Phoenix and especially the Royal Rumble, but that's on Friday. So in the meantime, let us get into our NXT review. And partner, how do we open this baby up?
Well, we first just see Ricochet showing up at Full Sail. We don't really get anything out of that, but then we do come back to the actual, in ring, and we get Velveteen Dream. He comes out, cuts a promo, talks about how he wants the North American title, and then Adam Cole and Bobby Fish come out. Bobby wants the North American title, and they try to attack Dream, but he disposes of them both and then flees.
Yes. And yeah, I found it fun. This is a great tone setter. We know Ricochet, like you said, showing up and doing all that. That was great and it was kind of a full circle thing, because the show starts with him showing up and then it ends. I mean, not necessarily with him as the focus, but he was involved in the final segment, I mean to say. So nice full circle touch there for Full Sail NXT. And then, yeah, Dream kind of having his segment where he declares his interest, his viability for the North American Championship. I loved it. I've been really curious what they're going to do with Dream, post TakeOver War Games 2. After his exhilarating match in my mind with Ciampa. I loved it so much. It was my match of the year at our TWitWoW Year-End Awards for 2018. And so I think the North American Championship is a snug picture for him. And I think I like to, I don't know if this has really been done so often that you could call it a trend or like an established norm within the company, so I won't go that far. But I have liked when we've seen on SmackDown programming especially, and you're starting to see on NXT, if you fail in one aspect of the card and like one aspect of the hierarchy. It's not like a steep demotion unless you're really bad, like say a Jinder Mahal. And even then, Jinder didn't have that steep of a demotion. He did have a flirtation with the mid card of the U.S. title for a little bit. They would just kind of relegate you down the next level. So Dream failed to win the NXT championship. So now the next logical thing is, okay, well, now you can vie for the North American title, or at least you could set your sights on it and kind of rebuild yourself up. Undisputed Era's promo was great. Given that we're hearing a lot about Adam's status and everything going on, I don't know how much stock to put in it because I love them and I think they're fully capable of holding all the titles in NXT, and I think it'd be an amazing story. But I don't know if that's the story they want to tell with Undisputed Era because they may have other stories to be a part of on the main roster soon. But yeah, I really enjoyed the first segment. A lot of compelling people, and I love that Bobby Fish, of all the people in the Undisputed Era, like he's getting genuine fucking heat. And yeah, it just shows, like, I guess if he ever broke out on his own, maybe he'd be like a solid mid-card heel because he just doesn't have, I've even said on live reactions of all the Undisputed Era members, he seems to have the least personality. But I think conversely, that translates into a positive of him getting the most heat, being a part of a heel faction. So good for Bobby. I was very happy for him. And yeah, on the whole, I really enjoyed this opening segment.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. It was a really solid opening segment. Then we did get into a Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair video package. And, you know, the video package itself was really good, but I don't want us to talk too much about like hyping up the match because of the fact that we do have preview predictions tomorrow. So if you have anything you want to say about just the video package, go for it. Otherwise, we can move on.
I thought it was well done, and that's really all I'm going to say. Because again, when we do these all the time, I just really love saving everything I want to say more substantively for the preview predictions. So again, guys, be there tomorrow at 8. What came after this?
Lorcan and Birch versus the European Union. What a match this was. As short as it was great.
Dude, I mean, that's the review in a nutshell for me. I mean, these guys, apparently, according to Sean Carpenter in our chat during live reactions, said the match was only like 5 minutes. And you want to talk about maximizing your minutes? I felt like we were at TakeOver Phoenix with the energy and the speed these guys were moving with. You know, the thing is, I'm not the biggest fan of Lorcan and Birch. I like Lorcan. And I will say, too, for Birch, I don't like him as a singles guy. I think he's a perfect tag team guy, though. I will say that much because I do think he's really found something good and comfortable in this team with Lorcan, even though I do think Lorcan is more versatile. But I do love Eichner and Bartel, and I would even say for them it's more of a similar situation. Like Eichner, I do enjoy his matches and I enjoy what he can do, but I feel like Bartel could be a more prominent singles guy than Eichner, whereas Eichner with this tag team, again, it seems like a very comfortable fit for him right now. Dude, I loved it. My favorite sequence though in the match, I had 2 favorite spots that I just want to highlight because I know, like, because I never take notes, I never really highlight specific spots, but these guys were so good that it stuck out in my memory. When Lorcan has got Eichner in the Boston Crab and Birch is trying to get Bartel in a submission, but Bartel's escape and his counter to get out of it, and then he pops Birch in the face. That was great. Love that because I just love the style that Bartel exhibits in the ring. And that whole sequence with, I want to say it was Eichner because he has the power game, with Lorcan in the powerbomb position, and then Bartel hitting the uppercut, and then Eichner trying to do the power bomb, but pretty much Lorcan kind of rolled through with a Rana. That was really cool too. Like those were my 2, I think, favorite spots in the match. And Eichner got an insane crossbody on the outside at one point where the height he got was ridiculous. So what about you, man? Anything stand out for you in this tag match?
Dude, I mean, yeah, most of it. Like this match was a highlight reel in and of itself. Like you didn't even really need to cut anything out of it. It was just a great match, beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else you want to say about this? Because I just want to give props to both guys. I mean, Lorcan and Birch do win, but I loved what you said on live reactions. They did a great job protecting European Union here because, one, the thing that I said was that it was very clear that Bartel could have broken up the pin had Birch not played such good defense. So it was more that Oni and Birch were on their game rather than Eichner and Bartel being off of it. And you pointed out how Bartel wasn't the one to eat the pin, which you thought was significant. I'm really glad you pointed that out in live reaction. So I think on the whole, they handled business beautifully here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. So I guess we can move on then. Up next, we had our Ciampa Black video package, which, again, great stuff. Anything you wanted to say about that or move on?
No, we can move right along, man.
Amber Nova and Tania Brooks versus Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, also known as the Sky Pirates.
Okay, guys, here's the thing. Because we did live reactions, I pretty much got all my squeeing out there. And not to say that I couldn't do it again, but I won't. Love them. You know, I love Sky Pirates. I love the look. I love the synergy. In one match, they're already one of my favorite women's tag teams, which you could have anticipated with how much I love Kairi and with the deep respect I have for Io, with everything she's accomplished at such a young age and getting this reputation as one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. Like, you know, I know we're all hyped for Sasha's match against Ronda on Sunday, which, again, we're going to be dissecting that on Friday for Royal Rumble preview predictions. But, you know, you talk about one of my dream matches in women's wrestling in the contemporary era, Sasha Io is fucking on there. And I think those two could do insane things together. And I just respect Io's passion and her ingenuity in that ring. And Kairi, I have never gravitated more to a babyface. She is the purest of pure fucking babyfaces. And I think it makes for such a thrilling dynamic. I don't know, Ashton, you're a huge fan of Io, I know. And I know you, like me with Io, have a deep respect and appreciation for what Kairi does. What do you think of this team?
Oh, yeah, man. I love this team. I think that I mean, you always talk about, oh, they're so pure and stuff. I just love that they're two of the actual best women's wrestlers in that ring in the world right now. And they're allowed to go in there and do their thing in the WWE. Like, that's kind of mind-blowing to me.
And dude, here's the thing, because, like, for as much as I love Kairi, like, I have to give credit where credit's due. Like, Io, man, everything she does in there, there's just something about the way she executes that to me just looks so damn good. And, like, you know, you're watching like a quality performer in that ring with the way she hits the ropes, with the way her moves get impact. She did like a seat, like the opponent was seated, and she did a drop kick to their head. The clap that you hear on it was like legit. I was like, damn, that's impact. So I love the way that Io like conducts herself and really exhibits her moveset to have not only this gracefulness, but this intensity, which, you know, those are two words that you think would kind of butt up against each other very aggressively, but she's got a synthesis with them that's just scintillating to watch. She's an amazing performer.
Scintillating synthesis, huh?
Yeah, that's Io Shirai. That's my soundbite for Io Shirai. Scintillating synthesis between gracefulness and intensity. Just a sublime performer. And Kairi, I mean, you're right. I mean, this is a woman that's taken an elbow drop, which, again, I love performers that can take maneuvers that I won't say are archaic, but, you know, in like a contemporary era, you would never really associate it as a match ender. But she does it with such impact, and she's got such an aesthetic with that elbow drop, with the way she executes, much like Io with a lot of her stuff, that you buy it as the finish. And I love them for that. And yeah, their finish, the assisted elbow drop followed by an assisted moonsault, and Sky Pirates, I'll tell you, dude, if you want to make these women's tag titles matter, the Sky Pirates are one of your first 5 women's tag team champions. I keep wanting to say NXT women's tag team champions, but it's just women's tag team champions. Sky Pirates need to be your first 5 champions, like in the first 5, I think, to really establish a credible lineage. So I really hope it happens for them. I really, really do. I love them. They're so good.
They're wonderful, aren't they?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And I love too. And we can kind of talk about this a little bit because we're not doing a preview and predictions for this show. That won't be until next month. But I do love our chat that they're advocating already for Io and Kairi, the Sky Pirates. I mean, Lil RJ Unlimited straight up saying Io and Kairi should be in the Elimination Chamber for the tag titles. That's why I wish it was 2 Raw teams, 2 SmackDown teams, and 2 NXT teams, honestly. I hate that it's 3 Raw and 3 SmackDown. But, you know, NXT will get their time, I'm sure. It just would have been really cool if they would have gotten their time on a main stage like that. But, you know, when NXT does get the nod, Sky Pirates will be first in line, at least I hope. So, yeah, great match. Is there anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Up next, we got an adorable post-match interview with Io and Kairi, and they did this super cute, yay!
I am going to watch it again.
But they got interrupted by the MMA meanies, Jessamine Duke and Marie.
Oh, God, these fucking people. You got dominated I mean, you said it best again on live reactions. You got dominated by a team that didn't even have Kairi on it. And I say team very loosely because Io beat your asses by her damn self.
Yeah, I love Dakota Kai. Don't get me wrong. Dakota is like top 10 in NXT women for me. But she looked like she was holding Io back in that match. Like the way that they portrayed her in that match, she was clearly the weak link of the team. She was losing when she was in the match, and as soon as she tagged Kyrie in, it was just dominance.
Yeah, dude. And then
I said
like,
Kyrie, I meant Io. As soon as she tagged Io in, it was dominance.
So she's not doing it. So I don't understand where all this fucking tude, all right, is coming from. Like I even said on my reactions, you are so lucky that Dream's the next segment, because I would have just unloaded all my sass right then and there. Like, how dare you? I even said, like in Kyle O'Reilly voice, how dare you? No, it's crazy, but dude, I do think Sky Pirates are gonna win, and I will say this too: if they don't, that's gonna be a heat of the night for me. And not only, because I'm just so squee and, yay with Sky Pirates, but because, I mean, you just laid it out. It doesn't make any sense logically how Io could beat these women by herself, and her best friend like isn't even hanging with her, and then they're somehow able to get the win when she's tagging with her best friend. It should by that property be even stronger. So I'm really hoping that they don't do some bullshit where Jessamine and Marina get the win, but we'll have to wait and see next week. But yeah, I did not care for their interruption at all. I was like, nah. So you got anything else you want to say about this? Yeah, pretty much. You got anything else you want to say about this?
No, but up next, we did get our third and final match of the night, Velveteen Dream versus Bobby Fish. This was more of a forgettable match. I would say that it became memorable towards the end when Fish had Dream in a heel hook. Dream was reaching for the ropes. Cole pulled the rope away. It distracted the ref, and it led to Dream's finishing sequence on Bobby. Being able to, he struggled to hit the Dream Valley Driver the first time, but he did end up hitting it, and then he followed it up with a second Purple Rainmaker. The first one ended up getting reversed into like a pinning combination that led to the heel hook in the first place. But yeah, Dream picks up a really strong win over Bobby Fish and kind of solidifies himself as a contender for the North American title.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, dude, you gave a quality review for both of us. There's really not much I could tack on. I did like the story told of Dream's leg being worked over, because they're really like going all in on Dream being a babyface now. I mean, you kind of had to figure this was going to happen ever since his program with Ciampa, where I feel like the crowd really embraced him hardcore, and he had such a great performance, again, at least in my mind, at TakeOver War Games too, so much so that it was my match of the year. So seeing him work the babyface style is really cool, because he, even working the babyface style, what I like about it is he does more high-flying stuff, but it's nothing overly ridiculous. I still feel like he's very reliant, as he should be, this isn't a criticism, on his personality to get the moves over. And that's just something he shares, whether he's a heel or a babyface. And to see him be able to play both roles makes me very comfortable about his future with the company. So yeah, this match again just further proved that the Velveteen Dream kind of babyface experiment that they're on right now, fully committing, I'd say it's coming up successful. So Dream gets the win. I agree with you about the whole contendership sentiment. And yeah, we can move on.
All right. Well, up next, we had our quick little view of Johnny Gargano arriving in Full Sail, similar to what we saw at the beginning of the night with Ricochet. We find out that next week we will be getting Io and Kyrie versus Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. And then we get to our main event segment of the night. Ricochet comes out, calls out Johnny Gargano, tells him, in 2018, you showed your true colors. You're a liar. You're deceitful, all these negative things. And then he said, and I also showed my true colors because I'm something Johnny Gargano isn't, a champion. So then Gargano comes out and he's acting like, oh, I'm not just going to rush the ring. It's 2019. I'm above that. And then he attacks Ricochet and gets caught and actually gets tossed out of the ring. But then Ciampa attacks. Ciampa attacks Ricochet, tosses him out to Gargano. Gargano and Ciampa have a weird stare down, and then Gargano goes after Ricochet. And then Aleister Black shows up, starts beating down Ciampa, but Gargano gets the upper hand on Ricochet and manages to get back into the ring and actually decides to help Ciampa by attacking Black. And we get a weird, awkward series of stares and beatdowns from Ciampa and Gargano on Black and Ricochet, respectively, until they actually walk up the ramp together and have a stare down. And Ciampa extends his hand to Gargano. Gargano's thinking about doing the handshake, and then Candice LeRae comes out to be the voice of reason, talks Johnny down, and pushes him to the back.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys know on live reactions, I love this. I thought this was a great segment. I love that they promoted both the North American Championship match and the main event match, Black Ciampa in the same segment. And yeah, just the whole idea, because, they've been kind of doing a slow burn of a DIY reunion. And, it seemed like we were about to get there. Johnny wanted to go in for that handshake, and Candice, trying to be the voice of sanity and reason, at least in her mind, to her husband, stopping Johnny from shaking that hand. But they really had each other's backs tonight. And yeah, I mean, you guys heard the dichotomy of reactions on live reactions, those of you that were there. Ashton was really frustrated by this segment because he didn't see the logic in Johnny's actions. And me personally, I guess looking at it from my vantage point, I did see the logic in everything that Gargano is doing and has done. So I really love the progression. And yeah, I just thought it was quality TV and a great way to punctuate the go home show for TakeOver Phoenix.
I think that what frustrates me is that I'm still holding out hope that Johnny isn't really a heel and that they're just kind of giving him a character arc where he's willing to sink to certain levels as long as the ends, which is him beating Ciampa for the championship, justify the means. And it just seems like they're not going that direction anymore, and it pisses me off.
See, and dude, you got to understand, for me, I still believe they're going in that direction. Because the way I look at it, and I was even I didn't mention this to Foster, but I did say that I genuinely do not see it that way. So this isn't just a front like, oh, pro-minority scumbag. Yeah, like that's not it. The way I see it, when you look at how the story's been told, Ciampa put Johnny in a very bad place when he beat him in that, it wasn't the no holds barred match. It was not the last man standing match. But no, I think it was no holds barred. Yeah, that's because that's different from unsanctioned. When he beat him in the no holds barred.
No, I think you are thinking of last man standing because it was the one where Johnny did the running knee and.
Yeah, no. I know about that match, but I'm talking about the match where Ciampa spit on the ring and then he beat him with the DDT on the exposed floor in the ring. That was different.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that match, right, to me, because here's how I'm seeing this story, and I just want to get this fully out. If you guys agree with me, fine. If you don't agree with me, also fine. I think when he beat Johnny in that match, something broke inside Johnny because he's been very fixated on ending the Tommaso Ciampa championship reign and, righting this wrong and this and that. He said as much multiple times. And then he sinks so low to start as to take out Aleister Black. We're supposed to get that triple threat match, obviously a cover for Aleister's injury. Then we get last man standing. And then being Johnny wrestling and getting that knee and having almost beaten Ciampa, but he took himself out. He took himself out by being Johnny wrestling, and Ciampa at the last second, being the guy he is, was able to get to his feet before the 10 count. To me, I think Johnny said to himself at that point, I couldn't beat Ciampa being Johnny wrestling, so I've got to become something else to do it no matter the cost. And I think he's cozying up to Ciampa to just lull him in that false sense of security, waiting for Ciampa to show him vulnerability, the same kind of vulnerability that I think Gargano really showed him the entire feud. And then he's going to strike. I am convinced that this is just an elongated version of Daniel Bryan and the Wyatt family. And I've been feeling that way since day one, since Johnny first started acting up and doing this.
And you know what, dude? You might be right, but my problem with that is if that happens, Johnny isn't the good guy anymore. Johnny becomes the heel in that scenario.
Because he won through deceptiveness? Is that kind of
No, because he would be doing to Ciampa the exact same thing that Ciampa did to him, attacking him when he's at his most vulnerable.
And see, I don't know how they're going to resolve it, because I do.
That's my thing. Even if you can't imagine, if that, what I just said, if that doesn't click for you, I understand that. But imagine the crowd reaction if Johnny spends months teaming up, or even just weeks, but I think it would be months because that's how long there is between takeovers, teaming up with Ciampa and acting like he's his friend again, only to do to Ciampa the exact same thing Ciampa did to him. It wouldn't be a resounding applause. He would get booed. He would be perceived as a jerk.
And I mean, then again, though, some crowds are weird. I mean, you know how Full Sail was tonight. They did DIY chants and hug it out chants.
Right, that's kind of my point, though. They're rooting for the DIY reunion. They want these guys to be together again.
Right.
And when Johnny ruins that, he's going to get booed for it. He's going to be the bad guy.
Yeah, you know what, to be fair, I can see that criticism. I can genuinely see that criticism because I think people because I think whenever there's like a story going on, psychologically we adapt. It's like, okay, I thought you were the hero, but now you've got the heel turn. Okay, and then like there are only so many rides you can go on until there's like a ride that you're really enjoying and you're really comfortable in. And then if he was to subvert it again, you'd be like, oh, well, I was really enjoying DIY, and Ciampa seemed to really be enjoying DIY. You're kind of the dick here, Johnny. So so I can understand that criticism. I don't know. I'm putting a lot of faith in the NXT writing that they can make this okay, especially too. Which again, you know what? I was going to say something. We're going to really touch on this a lot more, I think, for preview and predictions. But I'm just going to go back to what I said earlier. I do think this is an elongated version of Bryan and the Wyatt family. The difference being, though, and this is crucial, and you just kind of touched on it there, the crowd genuinely wants DIY here. Nobody wanted Bryan with the Wyatt family at the time. Like, nobody was clamoring for that whatsoever. So they were able to get away with retconning it with that steel cage segment, which I still think is one of the best Raw segments they've had in the last 10 years. This is actually something that people want. And given that the audience is kind of the third man, they're always going to be a perpetual wrinkle, even if you're like making your ideal story with all the conditions that you control, because they're an erratic variable. So a story that they feel like is redemption and Johnny becoming the monster to beat the monster, but he's able to crawl out of the abyss before it kind of engulfs him there. The crowd may be like, nah, fam, that's some bullshit, and just boo it and vehemently reject it. So I do think your criticism is valid. I just think more it comes down to not so much if you and I can see the story, because again, you did say you see where I'm coming from. It's just, is the NXT writing talented enough to not only tell that story, but to get away with it? And that, I think, remains to be seen yet. So
yeah, I think it's also kind of a frustrating thing to me because I kind of saw this sort of perfect little story that you could put in a box and wrap it with a bow that wrote itself, that you didn't really need to complicate, that ended with Johnny beating Ciampa in 3 months at TakeOver New York. And the odds of that happening at this point are slim to none. And even if it does happen, I can't even imagine it would be anywhere close to as cathartic as it should have been.
right. Yeah.
That's where the root of my issues stem from.
It's just so crazy, dude. And I feel like me saying this doesn't really compromise anything we're saying for like TakeOver Phoenix preview predictions. But it's so funny, like late last year, how we just kind of envisioned the TakeOver before Mania being like the Gargano fairy tale actually coming to a happy conclusion, and that Ciampa really didn't kill the fairy tale. And now with the trajectory of both Candice and Johnny, Candice being practically non-existent until tonight, and Johnny doing all this stuff, I have lost so much confidence in that vision. Like, it's still on the table simply because, I'm a guy that keeps everything on the table, but I have lost so much confidence in it simply because of like how things are going. I'm more confident in the Johnny thing, obviously between the two, but yeah, I could understand anybody's concerns. Like, am I even going to feel catharsis? Am I even going to have a positive reaction to Johnny getting his moment? Or am I just going to just reject this because Johnny is really looking like a fucking dick? Which again, remains to be seen. But I think just with me putting my faith in it, I really did enjoy this segment, but I could understand people being frustrated or even outright being like, nah, I can't vibe with this. I mean, Foster kind of gave his own reasons. He feels like the whole thing's been going on a bit too long for his taste. That's also understandable. This has been like one of the biggest, most extensive NXT programs I think NXT has ever done. And
I don't even have a problem with the longevity. I really just am trying my best to be patient because it maybe it is a problem. You know what? I'm going to actually backtrack on that. Maybe my problem is with the longevity because I feel like I've already waited for so long that them continuing to just kind of lead us on the way they are is getting more and more frustrating as they do it.
Right. Because, I mean, here's the thing. A story, however long, is fine. But one, if you're going to do a really lengthy story, you better keep it engaging every step of the way. And two, no matter how long a story is or how short it is or whatever, the payoff has got to matter. And already, just by our discussion, if the payoff was Gargano triumphing over Ciampa and becoming NXT champion, is that really going to be a payoff with how conditions have changed? So I think, this story has a lot of questions to ask itself. We've kind of worked through some of them, but we can't work through all of them. They've got to do some of the work. and we'll see how the chips fall. But I do think NXT TakeOver Phoenix, I'm hyped as hell for it. And this episode of NXT really did its job, because I think from top to bottom, it just made me more excited for every match on this card. And really, again, if I had to give the pickiest of nits, which I know is more resigned for our first segment, so I apologize, but the pickiest of nits, we did get Riddle Ono confirmed on this card. I wish we would have gotten Dream Cole confirmed. But, I mean, even Riddle Ono, to look on the positive side, the idea that Riddle is already doing back-to-back takeovers. And, you know, it's not like, oh, we're going to do one takeover to test the waters, then you're going to, like, have to wait a few months and then maybe, you know, more likely earn a title shot or something. No, they're getting him in programs that they are actively choosing to feature on TakeOver because of Matt Riddle. And you made that point in live reaction. So, again, another point of yours that I just really want to emphasize and come back to, that just shows, like, what a big deal he probably is to the NXT brand already right out of the gate, which I don't know. I mean, that was the point you made, but the big point I made was his first calendar year in NXT, he'd become NXT champion. So if they're already featuring him this, well, I don't know. He's on a good trajectory right now. We'll see.
Absolutely, man. You're on pace. You're on a great pace, actually.
I would definitely think so. So I wanted to bring that up too, because I think that was another great point you made about a match that, honestly, of all the matches on TakeOver Phoenix, that's probably the one I would be the most mad about. But again, we're going to do an in-depth unpacking tomorrow for that. So anything else you want to say about this closing segment?
No, sir. Let's move on to our next stuff.
All right. Well, before I do that, I'm going to try and get to these plugs very quickly. First of all, check out the TWitWoW Facebook page. Be sure to like it. We even got a comment on there from a fan of ours. Shared us a picture of their cat, because I guess we did a lot of kitten talk yesterday for SmackDown live reactions. So very cool. You get to do a lot of stuff on the page. Check it out. Follow Ashton on Twitter. His pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule for whatever month we're in. Obviously, in this case, it's the month of January. And it's important, guys, because you never know with Patreon requests and other factors when a recording could be added, when a recording could be moved. For example, Saturday, we're not just doing TakeOver Phoenix live reactions. We're doing a Patreon request, a Women's Wrestling Revolution show. That's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So see, like that, you know, recording can be added. We could say, oh, guys, you know, we're not going to be able to do this review tonight. But if you want to really keep up with all of it, the best thing to do is follow Ashton's Twitter. He does an amazing job keeping everything going, keeping everybody updated about what's going on with the TWitWoW brand. And again, the pin tweet at your own physical schedule in case you ever want to save it and be like, what do I have to look forward to for my new favorite wrestling podcast for the month? Now, me, on the other hand, my pin tweet is to collect your Q&A questions. TWitWoW does a Q&A the last Thursday of every month. In this case, that is January 31st. You can submit your questions via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Discord. More on the TWitWoW Discord in a moment. So you can reply to the pin tweet with your questions. The important thing I want to note, non-Patreon donors, say again, non-Patreon donors get only 3 questions per Q&A. However, if you do donate to the Patreon, you are permitted up to 5 questions per Q&A. And you can pretty much ask whatever you want. I think we're very permissive in what could be asked, and we'll let you know outright, like if we can't answer a question or if it's outside of our expertise, so that you can maybe come up with a better question. So we're very good about communicating. And yeah, get your questions in. You've got 8 days before the next TWitWoW Q&A, so the window's still open a crack. Just take advantage, get your questions in. It's always a fun time. The Teespring store have a lot of merch there. We have TWitWoW specific merch. I'm a TWitWoW guy. I'm a TWitWoW girl. We have Scum Squad merch, including a mug with which to drink the tears of your enemies. Nothing starts the day off better than drinking the tears of somebody you're superior to. Trust me, I know. We also have wrestler specific merch. We have, if you're a fan of LIJ with how they're dominating New Japan right now, or if you believe in your heart of hearts that this is the year of Andrade, or perhaps more pointedly, the year of Tranquilo, we have a Tranquilo shirt for you. I think it's fucking awesome. And I'm really pushing that shirt specifically because it just so much is going on right now with people that are associated with that. Again, LIJ has, tag titles and Intercontinental title. They're being pushed heavily in New Japan, as they should be, because they're amazing. And Andrade is wrestling out of his goddamn mind because Vince finally decided to watch a few episodes of NXT, I guess, when he was on there. And he's like, oh, it can do this? Pair him up with Ray, damn it. And so now he's doing amazing things, and it's just a wonderful time. We do have other wrestler-specific merch, though. You can check it all out on the Teespring. Last thing I want to plug, guys, is the Patreon. Now, I'm loving what we're doing with Patreon these days, because before, right, when we'd have our goal of 120, which is still our goal, we would kind of designate what we would do. Oh, if we get to 120, we'll do Progress Live reactions every Tuesday, for instance. It's what we used to do. Now it's become far more democratic because the more money we get in the Patreon, and again, our big goal right now is 120 and usually is, the more options you get to vote on for how many like hours of content. Like, so if you get up to 2 hours of content, you can divide up, okay, do you want that to be, this show or this or this? And, more hours, more options, pretty much more money in the Patreon, more options. And I love it because what won out this month was, NXT. We're doing NXT live reactions to that tonight. And we've been doing last few weeks Impact Wrestling live reactions. Impact streams on Twitch, and we've been covering their product the last few weeks. We'll be covering it this Friday for their big show in Mexico City. So it seems like some big stuff's going to go down. And you guys made that possible with your generous donations. And I like our new democratic forum. You guys get to vote on what we do. And if you're like, that sounds really cool, I like that more options are getting added, because you never know if one day AEW will be on the table and you're like, man, I fucking love AEW. I want to, live react to this. Could always be on the table. You never know. So if you want to get a part of it and you're thinking, how am I a part of this revolutionary process? What can I do? The best thing to do is to donate $3 to the TWitWoW Patreon. At that price, at that bare minimum, you get access to the TWitWoW Discord, as well as furthering the goals of Team TWitWoW in general. And the TWitWoW Discord, I think, is great. We talk about Raw and SmackDown together when that's airing. I know there are other kind of discussion tabs that we have on there. One for Game of Thrones spoilers, that you better believe that's going to be an overdrive come April. There's a miscellaneous tab, talking about gaming, music, all the other stuff. Pretty much what I like to say on here is if you're thinking about it and you want to talk about it, chances are we already are talking about it in the TWitWoW Discord. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, a fan server's nice, I'm a part of a couple of those, but what's in it for me? Well, we do something very special here at TWitWoW. We give everybody that donates to the Patreon their own TWitWoW account. So I'm just going to keep it very basic here. Say you come in, you donate to the Patreon for the first time, $3. That's $3 immediately. That immediately sets you up for a TWitWoW, Patreon account there. And if you keep that donation concurrent for 10 months, that's $30 you've accrued in the span of 10 months. And you're looking at your TWitWoW account and you're saying, man, I've got $30. I want to do something with this. You could cash all of that in for a live reaction to a 3-hour show. We have a multitude of Patreon requests on the channel. If you want to get your finger on the pulse about how, those kind of go, they've been both live reactions and reviews, or sometimes, both live reactions and reviews of the same show. In fact, that is going to be Saturday for Women's Wrestling Revolution. We're going to be live reacting to it, and then we're going to be reviewing it immediately after. So I think it's a win-win-win-win, as I always like to call it, because you get so much out of just $3. Please consider donating if you have it. We'd greatly appreciate it. With that said, let us get to our final segment, high spots and low shots. Oh, man. This is a difficult one for me. I'm going to say low shot. I hate to do it. I'm going to give it to European Union. I'm a big fan of these guys, but I know how this match got set up because they were doing an interview and Lorcan and Birch confronted them. So that tells me that Lorcan and Birch really saw these guys as a threat and like on the rise. And this was a huge match for them to really prove themselves. And it also kind of concerns me because I'm assuming that most of their success and most of their flourishing will happen on NXT UK. And they just didn't get the win here despite looking really fucking good. So I am tentatively going to give my low shot to European Union simply superficially because they lost tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That makes plenty of sense. You know what, though? I'm going to go with the Undisputed Era. I mean, you already handled the UE, the EU, so I'll take the UE as my low shot. Undisputed Era just had a not great night. They didn't get featured at all as far as the tag title match coming up on Saturday goes. And Adam Cole tried to do some productive stuff to help his friend win and failed. And Bobby Fish just straight up lost despite getting help from Adam Cole, which how do you lose in spite of Adam Cole's existence?
I mean, Bobby Fish, if he's not questioning his life, hell, if he's not renouncing his life and saying to the Undisputed Era that I failed, and more importantly, Adam Cole, then at the risk of being a complete dick, you're kind of living your life wrong there, Robert, and you should probably do it over again. So, yeah, I completely agree with your low shot. Dude, high spot for me is so fucking easy. Sky Pirates.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to even sign on to that, but
yes.
bring something unique to the table as well.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Yes, I will confess, the high spot is like 90% informed by the fact that they make me squee and they make my heart explode rainbows, and I just feel good and I have fun when I watch them, which really should be the point of wrestling in general. They're just legitimately so damn good at what they do. And I really wanted to go out of my way to praise Io tonight because, again, I associate more like Ashton as the big Io fan because he was scouting her out, before NXT, I guess, even got wind of who she was. But they're just so good together. And again, if they are not among the first 5 women's tag team champions, then the title, I mean, like I was telling Robert, you're doing your life wrong. They're doing that championship wrong. Because if you want it to really be credible and really mean something, that's a team that you fucking get it on. I love these two. Fun match, great energy. I can instantly tell they're going to be a crowd favorite. And here's the thing, too. If they become women's tag champions, that means they'd go on Raw and SmackDown. And honestly, I just really wanted to say this real quick, because like I've been concerned about the idea of Kyrie being called up because of like how they've used her the past 2 times when she's done special events, right? But if she's a tag champion, she's working on SmackDown, they both will get so insanely over with the shit that they do. The crowd will fall in love with them, guaranteed. Guaranteed. So I'm really excited for the future of both Io and Kyrie as a team, because then when that's kind of run its course, they will have a nice, comfortable future in singles. So I think this tag team could actually be the best thing for both of them right now if they have main roster aspirations. So, yeah, Sky Pirates is easy. You said you would co-sign. Is there anything else you wanted to say, though, in spite of the co-sign, like before I take us out of here? You just ready for us to go home?
Let's go, brother.
All right. With that said, guys, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-written commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment on the video when it's done processing. What do you think about the Johnny Gargano and Ciampa storyline? Is it growing tedious for you as it seems to be for Foster? Or do you think that it's illogical in terms of like Johnny's actions and his motivations and just his overall arc as a character, as Ashton seems to espouse? Or are you more optimistic like me that this is just an elongated version of Bryan and the Wyatt family and that Johnny will get his comeuppance and it'll be well received? I'd love to know our audience's reaction to this and get kind of a broader discussion, because this is the main NXT storyline and they've been getting a lot of mileage on this for quite some time. What do you think about Dream seemingly having no takeover match? And if him versus Adam Cole gets added, how hyped are you for that match? What do you think of Sky Pirates? And how soon do you think they'll be contending for the women's tag team championships? Talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. Be sure to like the video if you haven't. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Subscribe to your new favorite wrestling podcast if you haven't, and click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And guys, I cannot stress it enough. Tomorrow, NXT TakeOver Phoenix preview and predictions. We go live with that at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then on Friday's a doubleheader, because Friday we have Royal Rumble 2019 preview predictions, which is going to go deep because we also do the Rumble minigame every year. And to the uninitiated, I can't wait for Ashton to kind of detail it all to you on Friday. But we go live with that at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But we ain't even done, because then at 10 p.m. Eastern time, we're doing our last, for this month anyway, you never know if we'll return to it in the future, Impact Wrestling live reaction. Again, it's the Mexico City show. And I think that's where Johnny Mundo and Killer Kross are having their rematch for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. So a doubleheader there on Friday. Saturday, Women's Wrestling Revolution show, a Patreon request. We're going to be doing that live reaction and review beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be NXT TakeOver Phoenix live reactions. Then Sunday, it's going to be Royal Rumble 2019 live reactions. And because I know that that's a bigger pay-per-view, let me just look on the TWitWoW schedule to make sure I get my time right for this one. That is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And actually, I was wrong, too, about TakeOver Phoenix. Phoenix as well is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern time, so I apologize about that. Saturday and Sunday for the big shows, TakeOver Phoenix and Royal Rumble, we'll be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then Monday and Tuesday, we'll be doing live reactions to the post Royal Rumble Raw and SmackDown. Raw and SmackDown both will be going live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So for those of you that are fans of TWitWoW and are hyped as fuck for Rumble Week, name a more iconic duo than those two things coming together for all this quality-ass content. So, guys, with that said, we will see you tomorrow at 8. And until then, tune in. Peace out.